Hey, with your evening story channel, I post new interesting stories every day. Subscribe and click the bell to not miss it. Stephen finished a huge mug of tea and handed over a homemade apple pie. When Camille's wife had told him, Stephen, "You remember that my mother is coming soon." "Yes, I remember," Stephen grudgingly gritted his teeth. In fact, he had forgotten and didn't want to think about it at all. His mother-in-law, Emily, was a retired police major. The woman had retained her commanding voice even in retirement. Stephen hated it when she came over and tried to establish her own order in his house. Stephen preferred not to remember that it was his mother-in-law who had given him half the money to buy the apartment. And now his wife's mother had to come from a neighboring region for a long time. She needed a checkup. Some kind of back problems, and the city hospital had good specialists in this field. Bad luck, thought Stephen, we should get an orthopedic mattress for the bed. I've moved it to the hall for now, and we'll give my mom the nursery. Yes, very comfortable, we will be unhappy, muttered Stephen. Neither TV quietly watched nothing. And where will Christopher do his homework? And why buy an orthopedic mattress? For the sake of a month or two. Stephen, my mom has serious spinal problems. I'm not sure it's going to be a month or two. Examination, treatment, then rehab. I'm not letting my mom go home until I'm sure she's okay. And Christopher can do his homework in your office while you're at work. We have a 4-bedroom apartment. Can't we find room for everyone? And then you're on a lot of business trips. Please don't be mad, and Camille reached out to hug her husband, but he threw her arms off. Okay, let him live, but no mattresses, they're expensive. Why should I spend the money? Or from your paycheck buy? Stephen grinned, insinuating that his wife made a lot less money at her library than he did. Okay, I will find the money only to pay for Christopher's toys and buy groceries always, not occasionally. Be it for a while. The usually quiet Camille replied sharply. Stephen said nothing and retired to his office, slamming the door loudly. On the day of her mother's arrival, Camille got up earlier than usual. The other day she had done a general cleaning. Yesterday she washed all the curtains. And now, before work, she has to make preparations for the holiday dinner. Stephen never helped around the house, and Camille had made her peace with that. Her husband made a good living and provided for her and her son. Camille worked as a librarian and took care of the house and her 5-year-old son. When her mother came to visit, which was very rarely, Camille always tried to make her happy with something delicious. Emily never could or liked to cook. While Camille's father was alive, he cooked, and now her mother ate almost dry, and Camille was very worried about it. Emily didn't want to visit more often, even though she didn't live that far away. She and her son-in-law had a mutual dislike. Stephen disliked his mother-in-law for her overbearing character. Emily called Stephen lazy and thought that he did not love Camille. Her main complaint was that Stephen had not married Camille officially. Camille, of course, could understand her mother, but she herself did not worry about registering their relationship. She regarded Stephen as a husband and loved him, in spite of some faults. Camille laid out the groceries she had bought yesterday on the table. She had spent almost all the money left after buying the mattress. In general, Camille had been saving for a fur coat for 3 years, and she had been saving her paycheck from the money her relatives gave her on birthdays. Camille was unpretentious in clothes, but for some reason she wanted a mink coat. One day she saw one on a woman in a supermarket, black-sheared mink. It shimmered under the light, and on the sleeves and hem of the coat were incredibly beautiful ruffles like lace. Only from the fur Camille could not take her eyes off such beauty and decided to save up. However, it was not possible to save a lot. But in 3 years, Camille had collected more than half of the required amount, and now we have to start all over again. But that's okay. Health and peace of mind. Moms come first, of course. So what's going on here? Stephen asked, instead of good morning, walking into the kitchen. Duck, raw pickled mushrooms, even red caviar. Not a bad way to meet your mom. Good morning, Stephen. Well, my mom doesn't come that often. And don't worry, I used my own money. Besides, we're going to be together. There's that. You like duck and caviar too. And I'll make some more salads. Okay. We'll have breakfast today. Yeah, sure, I'll make sandwiches. I've been asking for cheesecakes for 2 days now. And Christopher would love a hot sandwich too. That's okay. You see how much I have to catch up on. Camille replied, a little irritated. All right, give me your sandwiches and I'll go to work. I can't wait for my business trip to start. I don't know how I'm going to stand your mother. Camille felt guilty for ruining her husband's mood, but the woman didn't even think about refusing her mother. After all, she was the only daughter. Besides, she herself missed her mom very much, and Christopher was very much looking forward to his beloved grandmother. Emily arrived by bus at about 7 o'clock in the evening. Of course, Stephen was still very busy at work and could not arrive at the station. Camille and Christopher went to meet their grandmother themselves and took a cab back. Naturally, the absence of her son-in-law did not escape Emily's attention as she kissed her daughter and grandson. The woman asked venomously, "Where's your husband?" "Working hard as always." "Yes, Stephen's mother is at work for dinner. Will be quiet," replied Camille. She sighed to herself. These months already promised to be difficult. Grandma had already given her grandson all the presents, and Camille had finished setting the table when her husband came home. "Well, hello, Emily." Hello. What's she doing?" "I see you set her table at the wedding you didn't have." "I gave it to my mother-in-law." "Well, at least we'll have a hearty meal tonight. And for you, Emily, at your age, overeating is bad for you," giggled. "Stephen, why do you need all that fatty, fried stuff? You could have 3 crusts of bread and enough breadcrumbs with your tea. By the way, your pension is probably just enough for that." "Don't count my pension. It's bigger than most people's." Emily's voice rang with metal. "Why don't you tell us what you do on your business trips?" "Making money. So I don't see my daughter getting any luxuries. She's wearing the same boots for 3 years. Mom, don't start, please. You know how much we spend? And they don't have just one pair of boots." "I have boots," Camille said. "How do you talk in my house?" Stephen's starting to get agitated. "Wait till I put you in a nursing home. They'll fix you up. Why do I have to put up with you talking?" "That's right, son-in-law. All right, you asked for it." I wanted to get Camille ready, but okay. And Emily went into her room to her bag. From there, she took out a big photo portrait in a beautiful frame. "Here, my daughter, look at it." From the portrait smiled happily Stephen, a pretty woman with a stylish haircut and a white-toothed smile, and a girl of about 2 years old in a dress. Stephen was hugging both the woman and the girl. Camille could understand nothing. It was a silly joke. But no, her mother wouldn't joke with her like that. "Stephen, what is it?" Camille asked quietly. Stephen blushed and turned pale. "It's Camille. It's a montage. It's photoshopped. Your mom's trying to braid us up. And this is also photoshopped." Emily asked calmly, pulling copies of the documents out of the folder. Stephen tried to snatch them from his mother-in-law's hands, but she had a great reaction. She handed the papers to her daughter and told her son-in-law not to jump. "They are just copies." Camille ran her eyes over the documents. A copy of Stephen's marriage certificate to Evelyn. The marriage was registered 9 years ago in the very city where her husband traveled on business trips. And here is a copy of Jenna's birth certificate, Mother Evelyn. Father Stephen. Date of birth. So the girl is now 2.5 years old. Camille couldn't believe her eyes. She was dizzy, her heart was racing. Stephen was married. He had lied to her all the 6 years she'd known him. And yet Camille had blindly trusted him, even the 2 weeks a month that her husband was a stranger. The husband, as it turned out, spent on business trips. Didn't alarm Camille in the slightest. It had been that way originally since they'd met. That's the job, nothing to be done about it. But what had happened? Camille sank exhaustedly onto the sofa. She felt trampled. and she couldn't even hear her mother and Stephen arguing. Camille did not notice little Christopher peeking into the kitchen. He was hungry. Grandma put a full plate of food on his grandson and sent him to the living room to eat and watch cartoons. His parents wouldn't let him do that, and the boy ran off happily. Suddenly, Camille smelled the odor of brandy. Her mother held a shot glass in front of her. "Have a little." Camille slammed down the shot glass and felt the warmth inside her. The woman took a deep breath. "Camille, I love only you, but I can't leave Evelyn." "She's a sick person," Stephen began. "What are you talking about? Your wife is perfectly healthy." His mother-in-law cut him off abruptly. "Have you forgotten? What have I worked all my life? I still have friends in the organs, and I still have some powder in my powders. So on here I have your whole life in the palm of my hand." And Emily told her daughter that her alleged husband Stephen had been married for 9 years, married to another woman. Evelyn was a wealthy businesswoman, 5 years older than Stephen. The woman owned a chain of furniture stores across the country, and in the town where Camille lived was her furniture factory. This factory was run by Stephen. Spending half a month on business trips with Camille, he lied that he was only a department manager at the factory so that she wouldn't expect too much income. Stephen systematically cheated on his wife, otherwise it should have been another short-lived affair. But unexpectedly, the girl became pregnant. Naturally, Camille did not suspect that Stephen was married and dreamed of marital happiness with the man she loved. And Stephen, having reflected, decided that he would live for 2 families. With his wife, Evelyn, Stephen was always in the second role. Camille was the opposite of the bossy and self-assured Evelyn. Gentle, kind, and a great hostess, she idolized her husband. Evelyn could not get pregnant, and Camille was ready to give Stephen her hair. Stephen wasn't too afraid that his deception would be exposed. Evelyn almost never came to the factory, trusting her husband completely. She herself was constantly traveling on company business all over the country and abroad, so she was always short of free time. However, 3 years ago, Evelyn got pregnant and gave birth to a daughter. Since then, Stephen has had a harder time, but he still managed to get by. If only it weren't for his overly perceptive mother-in-law. But it's all right. Camille will forgive him. She can't do without him. It'd be a lot worse if Evelyn found out. "Stephen, get out of here." Suddenly, Camille said in a cold, calm tone after hearing everything her mother had told her. "Camille, but what about it? Let's talk about it." "I said get out." "What do you mean get out?" "Stephen's angry. Actually, half of this apartment is mine. So, son-in-law, go pack your bags," said Emily mockingly. "But don't be in too much of a hurry. We're waiting for someone." "Who's that?" "What do you mean, who?" "Of course, Evelyn. All the wives should be here." "What did you say, Evelyn?" Screaming, Stephen nearly lunged at his mother-in-law with his fists. "Of course I did. And you thought your sweet life was going to continue. But no, I had to open your wife's eyes. Have you ever wondered how I got your family portrait and copies of your papers? Evelyn gave it to me. Very nice woman, by the way. She's a pleasure to deal with, and she'll be here soon." Stephen sank silently into a chair and clutched his head. Then the doorbell rang shrilly. Emily opened it, and Stephen's real wife entered the apartment. She was a well-groomed, stylishly dressed woman in her 40s. Evelyn said hello and walked briskly into the kitchen. Stephen stood up and rushed over to her, and then Evelyn slapped him several times. "What's up, hubby? What a meeting, isn't it?" Stephen stood with his head down. Well, knowing his wife's character, he didn't even try to justify himself. "Yes, darling, I believed you. I had no idea. Well, at least the good people opened my eyes." "Well, did I pack your things?" "They're in my car. I mean all my stuff." "What do you mean, all the stuff you came into my house with and all the clothes you're going to leave with?" "The car is registered to my company, so you can kiss that goodbye, too. I'll file for divorce myself." "That's all." Stephen stood there like a spitting image. Camille was crying quietly, and Emily was smiling wryly. Camille, you're not going to kick me out. Stephen started to whine. I'd already told you to go away too. Camille replied quietly. All right, I'll go now, but I won't leave you the apartment, and don't think about it. What a scoundrel, commented Evelyn. You have a son growing up here. By the way, the money you put into that apartment you stole from me at the factory. I suspected something was wrong with the income there. But I didn't think it was you, of course. Well, I thought you were an incompetent manager, but not a thief. So the new commercial director you hired 2 months ago is my man. And just yesterday he brought me a report. So consider your share of this apartment a gift to Camille. She is as much a victim of your lies as I am. And you, if you don't want the DA's office to know about your dealings, get the hell out of here. You'll sign over your share of the apartment to your son. There was a long silence. Do you need help packing? Finally, Emily asked. Slumping his shoulders, Stephen went into the bedroom. There was nothing left of the confident male he always wanted to be. Now Stephen just looked pathetic. Emily, thank you again for coming to see me, Evelyn said. Camille, calm down. He's not worth your tears or mine. You're young, you're beautiful, and you'll meet a man worthy of you. Let's not lose touch. After all, there are children, brother and sister. 2 years later, 2 beautiful women were walking out of a restaurant downtown. It was Evelyn and Camille. Camille was wearing that mink coat she'd been wanting for so long. Yeah, okay. Today was the day we celebrated getting rid of Stephen. Evelyn laughed. We'll see less of each other now, though. I made the decision to go to Italy to see John. I think I found a good manager for the business. We'll see. Evelyn, I'm very happy for you, Camille smiled. Our tradition of drinking champagne on the anniversary of the big day should not be broken. I agree. Oh, Camille, your family's here to pick you up. Yeah, I can see that. I'll run. And the friends embraced. Camille quickly went to the car where her son Christopher and her Robert, the most real, loving, and caring husband and favorite son-in-law of Emily, were waiting for her.